Picture this. It is Monday morning. Your manager drops a link and says the data is in Fabric now, can you pull a quick report? And you have never once opened Microsoft Fabric, your stomach drops a little. Here is my promise to you. By the end of this lesson, you will have a lakehouse, a loaded table, and a real query running. We start with the one idea that makes all of Fabric click. Then the actual clicks and the code and the beginner confusions that send people in circles on day one. Let us take the fear out of this. Take a look at the single idea that unlocks everything. Fabric is one software suite for analytics. Inside it, you get several experiences: data engineering, warehousing, business intelligence, and more. And they all share one data lake called One Lake. That is the whole trick. Your engineering tool, your warehouse, your reports, they all read and write the same lake. No copying data between tools. Think of One Lake like OneDrive, but for your whole organization's analytics data. One place that everything trusts. Hold on to that picture. Every confusing thing later melts away when you remember it. We just saw the big idea, so let me show you why it even exists. The old way was painful. One tool to ingest data, another to warehouse it, another for the dashboards, and copies of your data living in all of them. Fabric bundles those experiences into one product over one shared lake, so the data stops getting duplicated everywhere. Less glue code holding it together, fewer copies to keep in sync, and one bill instead of five. That is the pitch teams actually buy. Let me name the things you will actually touch in order. First, there is capacity, that is the compute you pay for. Then a workspace, that is your folder of items. Then a lakehouse, which is where your data lives. And then the experiences you work in, and underneath all of it sits one lake. Every item's data lands in that same lake automatically. Let me give you the one line version. Capacity is the engine you rent. Workspace is where your stuff lives. Lakehouse is your data's home. Let me walk you through what you actually see. You work in your browser at the Fabric portal. You pick an experience, then you create items inside a workspace. A workspace is just your project folder. It holds your lakehouse, your notebooks, and your reports together in one place. Now, here is the day one habit that saves you. Always know two things: which workspace am I in, and is that workspace on a capacity? Those two questions answer most beginner problems before they start. Keep them in the front of your mind. Let me show you how to make your very first lakehouse. Inside a workspace, you click New, then Lakehouse, then you give it a name. That is genuinely it. You now have a lakehouse, and it hands you two things at once: a files area for raw files and a tables area for structured tables. Behind the scenes, it stores everything in one lake. Notice what you did not do. You never set up any storage accounts, no configuration, no plumbing. You named a thing and got a working data home. Here is the one distinction that confuses every beginner, so let me make it stick. Files is your raw landing zone. You drop a CSV, a JSON, or a Parquet file exactly as it arrived. No cleanup required. Tables is different. Those are structured, query ready tables that your reports and your SQL can read directly. Think of a kitchen. Files is the receiving dock where the boxes get dropped off. Tables is the plated dish ready to serve. Same lakehouse, two rooms, raw comes in the file store, finished sits in tables. People freeze on one question: lakehouse or warehouse. So let me give you a simple rule. Are you comfortable in notebooks and Python or loading raw files? Then start with a lakehouse. Do you live in SQL and want a pure SQL table first experience? Then a warehouse fits you better. But here is the honest day one rule. Just pick lakehouse. It does files, tables, SQL and notebooks, all of it. Add a warehouse later only when a SQL first team truly needs one. Do not let this choice slow you down today. Now, let me show you the easiest way to get real data in. Upload a CSV file into the files area. Then use the built-in load to tables button. That one click turns your raw file into a real table. Fabric writes it as a delta table in the tables area, structured and ready to query. Start with this point and click load. Later you will script the same thing with a pipeline or a notebook, and that is exactly what the deeper course covers. But today one upload and one button gets you a loaded table. Now the fun part. Let me show you two ways to query the table you just made. Every lakehouse comes with a SQL Analytics endpoint. So you can run select star from my table limit 10 right there in the browser. Prefer Python. Open a notebook and write df equals spark.read.table, then df.show. Same data, just the Python and Spark style. And here is the beautiful part. Both of these read the exact same table in one lake. You simply pick the tool you are comfortable with. No copying, no exporting, same single source. Let me give you a couple of starter queries you will use constantly. First, confirm it loaded. Run select count star from my table. Does that count match the number of rows in your file? If yes, you are golden. Second, peek at the data. Select star from my table, limit 10. That limit matters. Never scan a whole table just to look around. And notice this is plain standard SQL. If you already know select count and group by, you are already querying Fabric. Your existing skills carry straight over. Let me close the loop and show you the payoff in Power BI. Because your table lives in OneLake, Power BI can build a report directly on it. No exporting, no copying the data anywhere. Right from the lakehouse, you spin up a report on your table. Data in, dashboard out. And this is the whole point of everything we covered. You load the data once, then you query it in SQL, analyze it in Python, and visualize it in BI, all reading one copy. That is the magic, and now you have seen it end to end. Let me show you a trick that pure beginners can still use called shortcuts. A one lake shortcut is a pointer to data that lives somewhere else. Your lakehouse sees that data as if it was sitting right there locally. It is the same one copy philosophy again. You reference data in place instead of duplicating it into your lake. So here is the takeaway. When someone asks, how do I get that existing data in? The answer is often shortcut it, do not copy it, point at the data, leave it where it lives. One idea applied everywhere. Let me talk about billing and let me keep you calm while I do it. You do not pay per query. Your workspace runs on a capacity, and capacity is simply the compute you pay for. Heavier work draws more from that capacity. Light work draws very little, and it is shared across all the workspaces sitting on it. So here is the beginner takeaway. Ask your admin which capacity you are on, and do not kick off huge jobs and walk away. Small and watched on day one. That keeps you and your bill out of trouble. Let me bust the three confusions that trip up almost everyone. First, lakehouse versus warehouse. Lakehouse is files plus tables, friendly with notebooks and SQL. Warehouse is SQL first, where you write through teach SQL. Start with a lakehouse. Second, capacity versus workspace. Capacity is the compute you pay for. Workspace is the folder your items live in. Completely different things. Third, where does my data actually live? Always one lake. Every lakehouse and every warehouse writes to that same lake underneath. Clear those three up and Fabric stops feeling like a maze. Let me hand you a quick rescue kit for when you get stuck. First problem, you cannot create anything. Your workspace probably is not on a capacity. Ask your admin to assign one. Second problem, your table is not showing up. Check that you are in the right workspace and the right lakehouse, not a different one. It happens more than you would think. Third problem, a notebook will not run. Make sure it is attached to your lakehouse and that a compute session has actually started. 3 checks and most beginner blockers disappear. Let me save you from the classic day one mistakes. Do not spin up 5 workspaces and a warehouse before you have even loaded one table. Learn the loop first. Do not kick off a giant Spark job on shared capacity and walk away. Start with small files and watch it run. And please do not agonize over lakehouse versus warehouse on day one. Start with the lakehouse. You can always add a warehouse later. Beginners down in choices that do not matter yet. Keep it small, keep it simple, and just finish the loop once. Let me tie everything together before I send you off. The mental model first Fabric is one software suite of experiences, all sharing one lake, then the loop you can now run, create a lake house, load a file into a Delta table, query it in SQL or a notebook and see it in Power BI. And the objects underneath it all, capacity is the compute, workspace is the container, lakehouse is your data's home. Hold those three pieces and everything else in Fabric snaps into place. You really do know the foundation now. Let me leave you a cheat sheet. So go ahead and screenshot this one. Experiences, data engineering, warehousing, business intelligence, pipelines and real time. All of them sitting over one lake. One lake, that single shared data lake where every lake house and warehouse writes and lakehouse tables are stored as delta capacity. The compute you pay for shared across your workspaces. So ask your admin which one you are on. One quick note. Fabric's experiences and defaults keep evolving. When in doubt, check the current Microsoft Docs, but these fundamentals will hold. So here is where you stand right now. You can create a lake house, load a table, query it two different ways, and see it in Power BI. That is a genuine, real start with Microsoft Fabric. When you are ready to go deeper and do this end to end, the full Microsoft Fabric masterclass is linked below. That is where the pipelines and notebooks live. And if this made Fabric click for you, subscribe for more data engineering walkthroughs like this one. Then drop a comment, tell me what you will load into your very first lakehouse. I would genuinely love to read it.